Hello, fifth grade. Today we are going to do a video lesson, which is called 6.1 line plots. You should have a piece of paper out with your notes set up in three-column format, pencil, and you can begin working on the beginning of our note here, which is the title, 6.1 line plots, the I can statement, I can read, interpret, and analyze a line plot. You'll take notes on this entire video. You'll add your own cheat sheets like we've done in the past. And then you'll be turning this in when you are all done. It should be a quicker video than the ones we've had in the past, so let's get started. First of all, our main idea number one, as always, is vocab. We have 3 vocabulary words that you should be writing down. Remember, when we're making these videos, you can pause me at any time so that you can keep up. The first word that we have is a number line, and you already know that one is the best mathematical tool in all of the land, or in all of the world. I'm changed my color there. Number 2 is a new word. Number 2 is called a frequency table, and you'll see a frequency table a little bit later in the notes. A frequency table is a way to organize data around how many times something happens. So the word frequency actually refers to how many times. So a frequency table would be a way to organize the number of times that something happens. Last word, again, kind of a new word. You probably have seen this before. We haven't really talked much about it though. Is called a line plot. A line plot is a number line that shows the frequency of something happening. A number line that shows how many times or the frequency that something happens. Go ahead, draw a line. You're going to add your own cheat sheet to the first 3 vocab words, and when you're all done, you can move on to part 2. Part 2 is called reading a line plot. It's just one note, note number 4. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to create, I'm going to highlight for you, but you're going to create this line plot. I want you to actually copy this line plot down as you see it. You're going to go ahead and draw the number line like you see below. And the number line is going to go from 0 to 4.5, and you're going to add your tick marks. If you'll notice, we start our number line at 0, and then we jump all the way to 2 1/2. And then we go ahead and we number by 1/2 to 3, to 3.5, to 4, and to 4 1/2. Pay attention to this. This is actually something that maybe you have seen before but didn't really know what it was. These 2 little lines between the 0 and the 2 1/2 are called breakers. I do want you to write this down into your note. Those are called breakers, and breakers show that there's a break in the pattern of the line plot, or of the number line here. So if you'll notice, we start at 0, and then we jump 2.5 spots to 2.5, and then we go ahead and we number by 1/2 for the rest of the number plot. So a breaker just shows that we are breaking the pattern, and we are skipping a whole bunch of numbers that really should be in the number line. So a breaker is symbolized by these 2 little lines, or sometimes a breaker would almost look like a little heartbeat on a heart rate monitor in a hospital. And this would be the breaker point right there. So that's what a breaker is. Anyhow, back to the number line. It looks like the title of our number line is The Distance School of Oak Point Students in Miles. So it looks like we have 0, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, and 4.5. So those are the distances that kids travel to Oak Point in miles. If you notice the 0 here, there is no X's by 0. So it looks like no kids live at Oak Point, because if you traveled 0 miles to Oak Point, that would mean you live there. So that's just the beginning of the graph, and common sense that no one lives at Oak Point. It looks like that at the 2.5 point here, so at 2.5, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 X's. So all that's indicating is that 3 kids live within 2.5 miles of Oak Point. The 3 here stands for 3 miles, because we're talking about miles down here. 1 child lives 3 miles from Oak Point. 1, 2, 3, 4 children live 3.5 miles from Oak Point. 2 children live 4 miles from Oak Point. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children who live about 4.5 miles from Oak Point. So this is a line plot that just shows the frequency of something happening. In this case, it is the distance, or the number of kids that live a certain distance from school. So if the question is, what is the most common distance that Oak Point kids live from school? According to at least this line plot, you would say the most common distance would be 4.5 miles, because 5 kids live 4.5 miles from Oak Point. And you can see the rest of them don't have 5 kids. They have less than 5 kids. Go ahead, draw a line. So that is how to read and interpret a line plot. You're going to go ahead and do your main idea number 2. And when you're all done with that, you'll move on to the last main idea. So you're going to do cheat sheet number 2, and when you're done with that, you're going to move on to the last main idea. All right, number 3, creating a line plot. As you can see here, we actually now have what we call a frequency table. A frequency table is just like what it looks like. It is an organizer which has a title, which is called Throwing a Ball. And then it has some data in here, and it says the distance in yards that kids can throw a ball. And actually this should be filled in, so as you're filling it in, I'm going to fill it in with you. It looks like that our first distance in yards, it looks like that we have, change the color back to blue so you can see what I'm doing here, less than 10. So I'm just going to tell you right now that 2 kids can throw a ball less than 10 yards. Our next is a range of 10 to 19. I'm going to tell you that 1 kid can throw a ball from 10 to 19 yards. Our next category is a range from 20 to 29. So it looks like we have 3 kids that can throw a ball from 20 to 29 yards. And then the last little inequality symbol here means greater than, as you know. So how many kids can throw the ball greater than 29 yards? Our answer is going to be 4. So what we need to do though is we need to, as you can see in the title, we need to create a line plot. So this probably is going to be pretty self-explanatory since you saw the one above. But to create a line plot, you go ahead and you draw a number line. I'm just going to draw a number line. And then we have to look at our data that we're graphing. So we're graphing less than 10. So this will be our first piece of data. 10 to 19 would be our second piece of data. 20 to 29 would be our third piece of data. And greater than 29 would be our fourth piece of data. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 tick marks for my 4 pieces of data right here. And my first tick mark is going to be titled less than 10. My second tick mark is going to be 10 to 19. My third tick mark is going to be 20 to 29. And my last tick mark is going to be greater than 29. And I want to make sure I title this. So my title is going to be distance in yards. I need to make sure I know what my measurement is. So yards, distance in yards, kids can throw a ball. So once we have our number line created, we just go ahead and we put our X's, our plots for the number of kids. So it looks like 2 kids can throw the ball less than 10 yards. So I'm going to go to my less than 10 yards, and my frequency is 2 because I have it happening twice. 10 to 19, looks like we have 1 kid that can throw the ball 10 to 19 yards. So I put 1X at the 10 to 19 spot. It looks like we have 3 kids that can throw the ball 20 to 29 yards. So 1, 2, 3. Frequency is 3. And in my frequency table up above, it looks like 4 kids can throw the ball more than 29 yards. So I put 1, 2, 3, 4. So in reading the frequency table, I can go ahead and create my line plot down here. Make sure that in your line plot, you actually show the distance in yards, or you have to actually write the title, which is the distance in yards that kids can throw a ball. And then make sure you show your X's are your frequency for each of the 4 pieces of data, 1, 2, 3, 4 up above. Go ahead, draw a line. You're going to go ahead and make your last cheat sheet, so cheat sheet number 3. And that is all we have today for notes on line plots. Good luck with your assignment.